It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hey-o. Welcome to the Dr. Duke Show. We got a great show for you today, so please hit that share button so we can enlighten the multitudes. Today's show is sponsored by Mike Lindo and our friends at MyPillow. This week, MyPillow is offering their men's and women's sleep and loungewear for 50% off. That means you can get one for you and one for your hubby and only have to pay for one of them. Pajamas, man. Look awfully comfy for those cold winter nights. Simply use the code Dr. Duke, that's DRDUKE, and you can save up to 66% on other items when you visit MyPillow.com. And we start in our ever-ending loop back to Loudoun, Virginia, the epicenter of all kinds of stupid. Getting real stupid up in Virginia, although with the new governor inaugurated just this past Saturday, first on his list, God bless you, Governor, is an end to critical race theory in Loudoun schools and across Virginia schools, and an investigation into Loudoun schools in particular. He also got rid of mask mandates for children all across the state. Virginia, there may really be a Santa Claus, and his name is Governor Youngkin. Anyway, we revisit Loudoun here on the Dr. Duke Show because now he's not alleged. He is actually a rapist. The young boy who molested at least 3 girls on 2 different campuses, and it was covered up by the Loudoun County School Board, it's all blown up now. We've got a situation where the judge has told the 14-year-old boy that his psychosexual evaluation was one of the most disturbing she has ever seen, and he is going to be on a sex offender registry for the next of his life. Congratulations, Loudoun, Virginia. All this because you want to virtue signal how pro-trans you are.
And when he appeared in court, he had his hair in a bun and his ankles in chains. And he actually did supposedly apologize directly to 2 of the girls, but we actually found out that there was a 3rd girl now who didn't have her story told. And one of the victims actually had said that she doesn't think that he'll be rehabilitated until he acknowledges that there was a 3rd girl who was actually assaulted, and that the one girl said, "I hope one day you tell them what you did to that girl." And then, again, part of this whole sentencing thing, and you said with the judge, reviewed a report, and she actually said there was an existence of a 3rd child, and then that it was so utterly disturbing that she could not believe what she actually read about in this. Now, if we take a look back, as we remember, just a reminder, I guess, if you've lived under a rock or decided to stop watching the news, which you should, quite frankly, but keep watching us, because then you'll find out about it. This whole story goes back to Scott Smith, who's the father of the first victim at a Loudoun County high school. And he had actually gotten arrested, and the school basically said he was the enemy, and he was just there to protect. He showed up at the school after he found out that there had been an incident, as he learned about, with his daughter, and it was that the boy had, now we found out, raped his daughter in one of the bathrooms. Dad's furious. He gets arrested at the school board meeting about this, and Loudoun covers all this stuff up and says, "Oh no, statistically there was nothing that happened." The boy, instead of actually getting investigated and go to some sort of facility, get some sort of help, gets just transferred to another school, and then he continues to then assault one and apparently now a second, so a 3rd total victim in this incident.
So what we got here is a situation where Loudoun County schools did not report this in their mandatory yearly reporting on sexual violence on campus. Apparently, this 3rd girl was brought into the mix. Actually, that happened a number of months, we think, before the last 2, the one with Mr. Smith's daughter and then the one who was transferred. So that was an even earlier mark of his dangerous capacities. And to show the picture, Mike, of the young man, young person, I suppose, there he is standing before a gay pride flag and a transgender flag on the other side. There he's in his kilt that he used to like to wear with no underwear beneath it. And notice he's got the tied-in rainbow socks just to match the flag. This is a young boy, by the way, who says he's not transgender and he's not a woman. He's a boy who likes to dress like a woman, and that was enough for the Loudoun County schools to allow him to pick the bathroom and shower of his choice, in which he raped one girl and sodomized another before, this is months, at least 12 or 14 months, after another girl he had a very similar incident with that didn't even make the rap sheet. And so 2 times he was freed. After the first molestation, the first assault, he was allowed to go twice into girls' bathrooms. Twice more he was allowed to rape girls. And all the while, the big consternation for Loudoun was not what to do about the sexual predator, but how to protect him because he looked like a transgender person. The fact that he wore girls' clothing was enough to say, we can't have the entire trans community tarred with his nastiness. So it's almost better to have the dad arrested for protesting, to have the young girl who was raped in the bathroom ignored, to have all of this swept under the rug so you can virtue signal about how wonderful your trans kids are. Ugh, disgusting.
And this is why at the hearing when the sentencing, when Judge Pamela Brooks said about the assaults, she says that over the years, this court has read many psychosexual reports. And when I read yours, referring to that boy, frankly, it scared me. It scared me for you. It scared me for society. And yet we are told across America that you be you and you do you, and we can't question anything. We can't consider that maybe there's some deeper issues going on, that maybe you need to talk to someone. No. Just let you go do whatever you want all the time, because it's just how you feel all the time.
Yep. And we mentioned which makes this so much nasty is that second girl probably the 2 girls that were assaulted in the Loudoun system probably would not have been allowed to if you just dealt with the first one a year before. But you're covering this up because of the nature of the perp here, right? If he were some punk kid in blue jeans and a pullover, you would have had no problem, Loudoun, talking about toxic masculinity. But what you have here is a queer kid, right? And I don't mean queer in the sense of queer and gay, an odd duck wearing his kilts without underwear, but see, he's a young hypersexual child in men's clothing. Just weird. But one of the second main part of the story that's so important is how the school, the institution, ignored what happened here. Commonwealth attorney Bhuta Biraj, Bhuta Bibaraj, I believe is how it's pronounced. She appeared in court, but did not speak. The juvenile prosecutor who took the lead asked for the perpetrator to be placed on the sex offender registry, a more severe step than even what was requested by the parole officer. The judge said she had never ordered a juvenile onto the registry, despite hearing numerous juvenile cases, but that, quote, I am ordering you onto the sex offender registry. This is how terrible were the crimes of this young person. Now, this Bibaraj previously said the suspect was released from jail because he had no history. This former prosecutor refused to go into this. We now know he had 3 cracks at this. This prosecutor said he had to be released because he had no history. The suspect's mothers later told the Daily Mail that he had been busted sending naked pictures 4 years earlier out to girls. The publication reported that police were aware of the incident at that time, but that charges were not pursued because the school district promised to handle it by sweeping it under the rug.
Are you a fan of the show? Consider joining the Patriot Club. Your tax-deductible donation of $99 a year keeps us going. Simply visit patriotclub.us. That's patriotclub.us to pledge your support and receive our signature tumbler as a token of our appreciation. We've got much more to come. Stay with us.
As we learned, when you get Glenn Youngkin in as your governor, and then he directly orders his attorney general into looking into what Loudoun County is doing, he may also need to also go to and say, hey, Fairfax County, what are you doing? Because you're just sending 3rd graders outside in Virginia in January. Oh, That's perfectly fine, right? Oh, are they wearing coats? Well, some of them, not all of them have hats on, but that's okay. We need a snack and a mask break, so it's okay, right? To just send your little 8-year-old, here you go, little Johnny, get out there, snack time, mask break. Fairfax County Parents Association then decided when they found out about this to let everyone else know about it. They're pretty angry after they saw these third graders from the Waynewood Elementary School in Alexandria, which is part of the Fairfax County Public School System. Oh, wait, it was below freezing? That's a little piece of information maybe we need to know. Yeah, it was about 27 degrees. One person said it was 24 degrees. Details. Either way, below freezing, which by third grade, I think you know that freezing is at 32 degrees Fahrenheit here in the United States. But hey, it was just a snack and a mask break, and the teacher was giving education by reading a book. Let's take a look.
She is reading a story to all these kids sitting outside in hats and coats and gloves. It is 24 degrees outside. 24 degrees. This is absolutely unacceptable. Unacceptable.
If you were a mother, a homeschool mother of 5 kids, and you sent them out in freezing weather to teach them a part of the homeschool curriculum, you would probably be visited by Child Protective Services, and rightly so. If you forced your kids to study in those kind of conditions, you took them out for reading a book period and let them sit in the cold cement, not very completely well-dressed, with a teacher all bundled up. I wonder what book she was reading. That's really what I would love to know. Was it Survival Tips of the Arctic? What were you reading these kids about? How to resuscitate people who are dying of hypothermia? What kind of book were you reading to them? This is the kind of paranoia, this outrageous paranoia, self-justifying fear that allows teachers and administrators to do this to the children in their care. It is a shocking but completely predictable now set of series of events where teachers who are so scared for themselves will end up doing just about anything to the kids as a punishment.
So what's so fascinating about this one is you should be saying, well, they're out there and they have their coats on and that's fine. Hello, you go out for recess, except those kids would not be sitting on a cold curb. And then it's like, if this is what it takes to get them to actually have a book be read to them or read a book and get education, it's completely opposite of what's happening. The school's defending it, saying that it was a snack and a mask break. So it's like, oh, so what's the big deal? We're giving them what you all are yelling about. And they added that the students were outside for less than 7 minutes and that the weather conditions were monitored. So that's a whole nother thing. Why are you making all these kids go to their lockers, put on their coats and their hats and their gloves? If not all of them apparently had hats on, as you saw. They put that on to go outside, to sit there for 7 minutes so that they can have a book be read to them. Oh, it's because you're forcing them otherwise to be in a mask all day, and that's the only way that they can take that mask off is to be put into these other, tragic conditions. This is where our state of education is.
Well,
it makes no logical sense.
It's bad COVID sense, right? You got the kids inside for 8 hours a day. You're going to march them outside and freeze them to death for 7 minutes? For what? How does this do anything except perhaps lower their immune system by getting them chilled out? The only thing you can accomplish by this, you're not avoiding, you got 8 hours in school every day, and 7 minutes you remove them to sit in a freezer. What do you think that's going to do to them? Next time, strip them down to their gym clothes and let them sit there and compromise their immunity altogether in 7 minutes, then send them back into school where they're sniffling and huffing the whole rest of the day. What exactly is the protocol in your minds, Virginia? And Fairfax and Loudoun County and Alexandria, all across Virginia, this stupidity is going on right now. It's not even just about the fact that you're not teaching our kids what you're supposed to be teaching them. It is about the fact that you have lost your minds and you're treating our children like your own little guinea pigs. It's got to stop. Glenn Youngkin, make it stop.
Today's show is sponsored by Clean Start Hand Sanitizer. For an odor-free foam hand sanitizer that lasts 2 hours and provides 19 refills, visit freedomproject.com/clean. That's KLEEN to order yours today.
Well, over the river and through the woods, we're going to head just a little bit east and go to Washington, D.C., where I really hope, Mom and Dad, that if you have a student, I hope they never come home and say, Mom, Dad, I was Hitler today. Because unfortunately, that actually did happen for one family when one kid had to portray Hitler at Watkins Elementary School in Washington, D.C. Now, third graders, again, it's those third graders, those 8-year-olds are really being attacked this year. Third graders at the school were supposedly forced to reenact the Holocaust during a lesson in the library. And of course, it had to be complete with Hitler and some shootings, and you had to have a gas chamber death, and students had to dig their own mass graves as part of this teaching, immersive teaching. What kind of teaching would you say this is? Again, third graders. And it was a library lesson. It was alleged that the staff member who led the lesson also made some anti-Semitic statements about it. And D.C. public schools are investigating, but the news went far and wide before they could start that.
Tonight, the school district is apologizing after this alleged lesson Friday here at Watkins Elementary School. The students involved, 8 and 9-year-olds, who are reporting they had to pretend to kill each other.
My husband picked up our child after school. There was a lot of sobbing and crying and distress.
The mother I spoke to didn't want to be identified to protect her child. She says her third grade student had to pretend to die in a gas chamber at school on Friday.
And we don't understand how this could have happened in a D.C. public school.
In a letter to parents at Watkins Elementary, the principal says he heard reports that a staff member staged a Holocaust reenactment that included students portraying participants from the Holocaust, like Adolf Hitler, digging ditches to serve as mass graves, and simulated shootings. And he says the staff member leading the lesson is accused of making anti-Semitic statements.
What do you think about the impact on your child?
I think it's traumatic. I think it's a terrible corruption of historical trauma that was inappropriate for 8 and 9-year-olds to learn about it this way.
In a statement, DCPS says in part, students should never be tasked with acting out any atrocity, especially genocide and war. Additionally, there were allegations of a staff member using hate speech during the lesson, which is unacceptable and not tolerated at any of our schools. This was not an approved lesson plan, and we sincerely apologize to our students and families who were subjected to this incident.
To me, there's a contradiction in the story. On the one hand, you've got this teacher, this substitute teacher, apparently, who put on this pageant of death. On the other hand, the same teacher is using anti-Semitic language. My suspicion is that the teacher took on one of the roles in this little death play and was saying horrible things about Jews as part of the overall experience of what happened in the gas camp. I would bet that's what happened. But here's my question. It's Washington, D.C. You are 10-minute bus ride away from the Holocaust Museum? Seriously? You got to play Let's Bury the Dead guy. Let's see who can be the best 8-year-old to enact a choking by poison gas death. You're just a bus ride away. Go to the Holocaust Museum. They have programs that are age appropriate for 7 and 8-year-olds. No one has to die in a library. No one has to play Adolf Hitler. What's the matter with you? It's not, I could see if this was, you lived in somewhere in Montana, right? But you're in Washington, bloody C. I think we should give a timeout. The public schools all across Virginia and into Washington, D.C., we should give them a 6-month timeout. Return all the real estate property taxes to those parents. Let them find alternative education through June and call it a day. Sit in the corner, public school in D.C. and Virginia. Think about what you're doing, and we'll decide whether we let you come back next year at all. Really, it's that outrageous. You know, I said this over and over again. I think it's our mantra for the Dr. Duke Show. So many stories about education. We literally, I mean, if I can find just a boring story about math grades or teaching literacy or having fun reading Shakespeare, something even remotely education-based coming out of the education community. It's all about this stuff. I mean, no one's talking about achievement anybody. No one's talking about reading the classics anymore. No one's talking about making kids better math students by doing X, Y, and Z. It's nothing to do with this. It's all ideology all the time. I just want one. Mom and Dad out there, send me one. Send me a school assignment. Send me something that we can talk about that actually is school doing school. It seems to be no news whatsoever about that. That's why we created Instant Classics, as a way of going back to a time when kids had nothing to do but learn serious material in serious disciplines, right? Where you were there for one reason, and that reason was to study, to learn, to read, to write, to become literate. Not all of this trauma being handed down by you by sensitive, bleeding heart liberal idiots with 4-year degrees in a worthless subject. We're doing Macbeth this week, one of the great books that every middle or high school kid should read before they graduate. Absolutely so. And by the way, there's no homoeroticism in the book. There's no queer this or that, no gay pride flags. There's no social justice themes. It's just a great work of art, for God's sake. And so the new movie that's coming out, the Tragedy of Macbeth, which was a 2021 joint, so to speak. It stars Denzel Washington as the great Macbeth, and it is he's perfectly cast, I think, for that role. It's got a wonderful cast. It's Apple TV original movie. I've seen tomorrow on the Dr. Duke Show. We'll show you the actual trailer, which you can find anywhere, but we'll show it to you. I would really like you, moms and dads, to roll the dice on this. Sit your kids down. Even if you don't remember Macbeth that well from your high school, go back, just call up an overview of the play online, just an act by act what happens. Sit there and help them understand and watch this magisterial play unfold. It's about ambition. It's about paranoia. It's about bloodlust. It's about the metaphysical world. It's about demons versus angels. It's about the better and worse angels in our hearts and our souls versus the demons inside us too. It's about unlawful killing and the justice that comes in the way of that. It deals with all those really serious adult issues that is swept under the table now by all this PC garbage. And so, as I've been wanting to do every day this week, we've given you one quote from the play to analyze a little bit, and this is really here hoping that you will share all this with your kids, and let us know. If you go through some of these quotes with the kids and have them watch the movie, send us, please, to the Dr. Duke Show. How'd it go? Let us know how it goes. Here's one of the famous passages from the play. It's after Lady Macbeth dies. She, for all of her braggadocio, for all of her praying to demons to become a man, right, so that she can be more cruel, a better killer, once the murder's completed, her guilt overawes her, and she dies in her sleep. When Macbeth finds out the death, he's so hag-ridden, so world-weary now. The best he can do to quote on her death is the famous speech, "Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace, from day to day until the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. 'Tis a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing." Is this what the storm of life ultimately is about? The epic life that my wife and I have lived, all the good that we've done and the evil that we've fallen into. Is this what life is? Just some play zombie actor, right? Life, a little bit of life that struts, but the actor gets a little scene on the stage and then is marched off and history forgets him. It's about the most tribute he can think to give his dead wife, his partner in evil. It's an evil end for an evil deed.
Ooh. All right, before we go, let's show some love to our Patriot Club members. And today, the shout out is going to Rachel from Colleyville, Texas. Rachel, thank you for supporting us. And that wraps up this show for Freedom Project. I'm Katie. He's Dr. Duke.
Until next time, watch Macbeth, my friends.